Welcome, everyone. I tried doing a live feed this morning, but you know what? It just didn't work out. I don't have it quite figured out to use my computer, so I'm going to use my phone and try to cover some of the stuff I did earlier today in that first one. This is on this feed here has it's unadvertised, unpromoted, on whatever, but I want to talk about restoration work, and I'll do this quickly, so I hope your ears can hear very quickly. Have you ever wondered what it takes to breathe new life into forgotten treasures, rusty junk, discarded items, family heirlooms, you name it? Have you ever wondered what it takes, and have you ever wondered if that's something you could do or even be interested in doing? Well, it is. Myself, I've come across a process that I use to do this, and I want you to know that you can do it also. If you follow this simple process, rules, steps, whatever you want to call them. I'm Marv from Marv's Fixit shop. If you haven't ever met me, I'm a 70-year-old guy that took up YouTube about a year ago, a little over, and I fix junk the best I can. Discarded items, I do a little restoration, and I ask the question, can it be fixed? And I try to answer that in a video. I'm a son of an Amish carpenter. My dad, my mother, both were older Amish, and I had a lot of heritage passed down to me through those relatives, including my dad and all his brothers and sisters. I never was raised that way, but I sure have a strong heritage in it. Restoration and its importance brings to light and life historic items, and it saves from throwing junk away, can bring something that's been discarded back to life. The best, get out of here, you stupid fly. I'm trying to talk. Can't you see that? Fly didn't know any better. Now I have to have a cup of coffee. But yeah, restoration gives you the opportunity to bring back to life stuff that's been discarded. You might have a family heirloom or something. So there's some historic value, and there's also an upcycling value to it where you save from stuff just ending up in the landfill, whatever. But for me, it's been mostly the challenge to see if I could actually fix something and bring it back after it's been given up on by most. But to do that, I have a process that I go through. And if you want to learn how to do restoration or repairs, which I believe you can, just follow this process that I'm going to share with you. There's 3 steps in this process. And the first step that I use is evaluation. I evaluate what I'm going to restore or bring back to life. And I ask a lot of questions in the evaluation process. Is the item even worth restoring? And what value will it bring to others if it is restored? And to me, that's an important question because you want the item to have some kind of either sentimental or nostalgic or monetary value to where even if you give it away, somebody would want it. and what's the value that it would bring to the community. I believe that upcycling is a big deal as far as saving old stuff. Recently, I bought an old lumber yard, and we had to throw a lot of stuff away. And although I don't get on the bandwagon too heavily on that subject, but I'm keenly aware of it, that we need to recycle the best we can. I also asked the question, does it have historic value? And family heirlooms, do you know the history behind it? I recently did a rototiller where it was manufactured in Ohio, and it was very interesting to see where that rototiller came from and how it had ended up here in the little town of Geneva. So there's a story behind a lot of the stuff that I pick up and the stuff that you would have. So evaluate what you have, what kind of dangers are involved into tackling a restoration or a repair. Just evaluate it in general, and that's the first step that I do when I do restoration work. The second step is I realize that if you look at a project as a whole, you're going to choke. Although you have to have a good understanding of the whole, you don't have to restore it as a whole. What you do is you break it down into bite-sized pieces. So step number 2 is just chunking it so it's in bite-sized pieces so you don't choke by taking too big of a bite. And what do I mean by that? I mean simply that you take little parts of whatever you're fixing or whatever you're trying to restore, and you do those individual parts. In your mind, you compartmentalize it. This is what I'm going to do right now. I'm not going to do and think about that over there. I'm just going to get this done. And you get all them little parts restored, and then all you have to do is put it together. That's pretty simple. And that's what I do. I break it down into bite-sized chunks. There's a story behind that. You know, I've been doing this since I've been, young in life, 10 probably, when I started fixing stuff. Granted, it wasn't too big back then, and it still isn't actually, but I bought a Bronco recently, and I brought it home, and recently, it's been 3 years ago at least now, and I brought it home from Wisconsin, and I didn't realize how rusty it was, and when I started looking at it, I started to get a sick feeling right here in my gut, thinking, I'll never get this done. But you know what? I decided to section it off in little bitty projects. So I did one project, got it done, especially when it came to welding the new metal in all these places where it was missing. To cut it out, learn how to weld, learn how to tack it in and grind it down so you use as little body filler as possible, and that's exactly what I did. So breaking it down in bite-sized pieces. Evaluate your project, breaking it down in bite-sized pieces. And then the third step in my process is I figure out where I want to start. And in building restoration, you usually start at the bottom and work up, foundation, or you may start at the foundation and then get the way, if it's all crooked, straighten the building out, then start enclosing it so you don't have more water damage. If there is water damage, well, projects are similar. And let me get you an example here. I'm just going to move back here and grab something. Let's grab this old oil can right here. You see this old oil can? There's a story behind it, but let me talk about this, where to start. On something like this, I would probably get this cap off. Hey, it turns right off of there. I didn't even know that. And I would probably start in there with some kind of cleaner to get the inside all cleaned out. Then I would start with this cap. I would clean this cap all up, and I would actually put the finish on it so I could see what my finished product is going to look like. And that would be my encouragement piece. And I would set that there, and I would look at my project and I would think, now what? On this, the next step I would do is probably figure out and start straightening up some of the dings and dents on this metal, like this handle's bent in, straighten it up, get it, and then straighten this up here a little bit if I can. And that would be step number 2 in this here, breaking it down. And then the third would be I would clean everything up. That would be another bite size piece, and that'd be a part of where I'm going to start and how I go through it. And then I would prime it and then paint it. And then I would assemble it, which isn't much, just putting this on. And then I would test it, if I could, by putting a little oil in here and seeing how it works. This is a small project, but I think you get what I mean. I would take this and I would figure out where I'm going to start, and I would start and do little bite-sized pieces. For step number 2 and step number 3 go hand in hand. And a tractor I did once, I started in the front, I moved to the back, and then I did the center. Bite-sized pieces in each section that I worked on. That Bronco was the same way. If you follow these steps, I can almost assure you that you will be successful in restoring something. Now this oil can, let's go back to evaluation, historic value. My father-in-law had an old tractor steam engine and a thrasher, and he used to go around and thrash wheat and oats for Amish people. And that tractor had a nickname. It was called Old Smoky. Wonder how it got its name. I bet Old Smoky smoked. You think? Well, anyway, my wife says as a little girl, she remembers her dad calling it Old Smoky. So they would take this can and they would reach in, because you didn't want to get close to Old Smoky's moving parts. There's a reason for that. There's a lot of people that found that out the hard way. Anyway, you would reach in and you could oil them bearings with this. And see, back then the bearings were a lot different than they are today. So they used a big oil can like this with a long spout to reach in so they wouldn't lose fingers, arms, or worse, lives. A lot of people did. So the historic and sentimental value behind that old oil can is great for me. I want to bring it back to life, and I will one of these days. I don't know when. I just seem like the older I get, the less time I have, and you think you would have more time when you're retired, but you end up having less. I don't know what the deal is. I haven't figured that one out. I encourage each of you to reach out to me, and if you have any questions at all or concerns about restoration, please email me, and in the subject put live stream, and I'll answer any questions you may have. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll put my email address in the description if I don't forget. I think I have it listed somewhere, either in my Facebook page or someplace, but It's an easy one to remember. Mr. Schwartz. Mr. Schwartz. Schwartz is SCHWARTZ. And my birth year, 1954, at gmail.com. So Mr. Schwartz, 1954 at gmail.com, all lowercase. Mr. Schwartz, 1954, Gmail. That's my email address. Pause this if you have to. Drop a comment down below. Subscribe to my channel if you find value in it, which I hope you do. And recapping, evaluation, breaking it into small parts, and figuring out where you want to start. Then you can be asking the questions like I do. Can it be fixed? Sure it can. Can you fix it? You're darn right you can. Until the next one. This live stream's coming to an end. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to have to figure out how to do this with my computer, so I'm better equipped. But until now, I'm just going to have to use this phone because I just don't quite have it figured out. And I'll tell you what it is. It's that daggone encoder that to keep talking about. I wanted to use a webcam, an auxiliary webcam in my microphone, and I'm struggling to figure that all out. But it's like anything else in life. It'll come sooner or later, probably later, but till then, have a good weekend.